I got no stake in this game, folks, but I got to say, down through history, if you would say the game that produced over a long stretch of time the most speed, the most talent, the most NFL players on one field at one time for a long, long time, it was this one right here. Florida State, Miami getting together in Tallahassee for an umpteenth time. We'll have to review the numbers. I know Cam knows that that Miami's got that all-time series lead in both locations. Correct, Cam?
Winning record at home and on the road. So yeah, going up to Hard Rock North or Orange Bowl North, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, man, this is one of the foundational rivalries in the world of college football, man. So yeah, glad to be here with you guys. Be sure that you like and subscribe, please. And leave your comments and questions because we're going to be, hashtag talking about the Noles because Miami goes up there to play them this weekend.
We do appreciate all of you showing up last night. So we had Cam on kind of a last minute deal on the Florida State show, and it was a great discussion breaking down the Canes and the Noles and all the matchups. But the Miami crew certainly travels well. So you show up there on the FSU channel and all of our super chats, Falconer TRX, and I believe our Chicago friend, Chi-Town Kane. Yes, showed up with super chat as well. So thank you for that. No Florida State super chats. We've got a cheap contingent over there on the Florida State channel. Goodness,
we got to learn them something over there. John Bird in with the Go Hurricanes first, and then what's going on, guys? Go Canes! Hey man, thanks for being here with everybody else. Make sure you tell your friends to see people are trickling in here as we're starting the 7:00 hour and everything. So yeah, very excited to be here, and just as how coaches kind of give their opening statements. I'm pleased with where this team is through the month of September as we today on October the 1st take the calendar over. 4-0 in the non-conference yet again is really where you want to be. I'm very excited. I was part of one of the loudest voices in a very vocal minority that Miami was going to beat Notre Dame and could compete with Notre Dame. There were so many people who were just like, there's no chance. And I told you about how, I pushed back on that with my Detroit Lions when they had to travel to Kansas City on ring night a couple of years ago. So they might not win, but they can compete with anybody. But not only that with the Canes, I said they can compete and they can win this game. Did that. USF was the story of the first fortnight, the first 2 weeks of the season. And everybody's, well, what are y'all going to do? Handle business and win by 5-6 touchdowns. Then you get Florida, handle that business. In a different year, Billy Napier is already fired at 1-3. They're just going to ride it out and fire him at the end and probably do something later. And especially, you're seeing players from teams that fire their coaches early saying, hey, I'm going to sit out the rest of the year. You got a kid from Oregon sitting out, apparently. You get, multiple guys from like Oklahoma State, Arkansas say, hey, because you've only played 4 games, which is the threshold to maintain your eligibility for another year, and things like that. So I think that Florida wanted to not go that route. And Miami settling for some field goals and not really making the number super duper lopsided on the scoreboard, I think gave them enough cover to not really get rid of Napier. But, to this point of the season, you don't really have many injuries. The ones that you've had have been minor and guys have returned. Samson Oklahoma gets a little tweak in the Florida game, but he comes back. Jordan Lyle has missed a couple of games, but he could have played in the Florida game. But we kind of didn't need him. JoJo Trader, he's been dealing with whatever he's been dealing with and everything, but you're not really seeing catastrophic injuries or anything. So that's great. You get through non-conference 4-0, get a breather last week, reset for this game this week. Last week was a work week for the Canes. You saw some pictures and video of them really working, good on good in practice and things like that, and giving guys the opportunity to grow. So I can pick nits, and I will, because I think that there's still room for this team to improve. Specific in a couple of different areas. I would say just consistency in the back seven of the defense, because that's where we've seen a couple of issues, like one a game, maybe two, not pervasive like last year, but Mo Toure leaving the tight end wide open against Notre Dame type thing. We haven't seen that from him again, but you gave up a 65-yard touchdown or 65-yard play to let them back into the game when that game was pretty well in hand. So again, I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not saying they're terrible, but you've seen a couple of times where, okay, but credit to the staff, credit to them and the players getting in there, fixing what they need to fix, move on. So that's an area for continual growth. So hopefully the errors aren't not as large as that as we move forward. And honestly, that's like the really biggest error of the season. I keep returning to the opener for it on defense. So we're good there. The thing that I continue to say is we need more explosive plays on offense, and that will help everything. I believe that Miami's left lots of points on the field in games last year and this year already. And I think with added explosivity on offense, you'll be able to realize some of those more potential points that are out there and not really getting scored. And this team is ruthlessly efficient. Like, we'll just, we'll lean on you. This is old school, you think 1980s and 90s Nebraska type. 4, 5, 6, 4, 6, 8, 12, 4. Just walk down the field because you can't stop it. And that's great. And I love that efficiency. I love the fact that on offense, we can lean behind all them big boys, averaging 6'6", 325 on the O-line. I love that we can do all of that. I would like to see a little bit more blur from the offense, whether that's in the pass game or the run game. I just think that will balance the offense more and really take things to another level. I'm not expecting the kind of explosive play rate that we had with Cam Ward last year, because that man was incredible. And he's just like, I'm going to hunt the home runs and I'm going to dot you up. I don't expect that. But also when you have Miami ranking in the 120s out of 136 in terms of explosive play rate, explosive, the yardage per successful play and things like that, way, way, way at the bottom in the 5th or 6th percentile, which is terrible. You want to see that improve, right? And to go along with solid running game, accurate quarterback at 76% completions, making right reads, checking in the right things, defensive line dominating, Ruben Bain, the destroyer of worlds, Mo Toure stepping in, Jacoby Thomas being a revelation as a late transfer from Tennessee, Malachi Toney, There's so much that I love about this team. So don't let that go by the wayside. But I've given my one major thing on either side that I would like to see grow in a positive direction to fit in with what we're doing. And that would really be, I think, positively transformational for this team as we move forward through ACC play.
So let me extend on that to a certain extent, because this was going to be my first question to you, and it kind of falls into what you're already leading into and what you've already put out there. But before that, I'd like to, if I may, share my observation of this team preseason and now through 3 important games, 3 substantial games.
Yeah.
Because you started down that road in terms of the Notre Dame game. So my observation of this team, or my perception and expectation of this team leading into the season, was this is a fringe top 10 team. 7th, 8th, 12th, somewhere in that range. That was my thought at the time.
Okay.
Then I see him play Notre Dame, and I picked Notre Dame to win. Was that a difficult pick to make? Yes. It wasn't like I just checked the box and moved on. I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. I basically thought, well, if this team had the mettle to go to a national championship game and endure Penn State, Georgia, all these teams down the stretch, they're a hardened team to a certain extent. Obviously, everybody loses NFL players, and they did as well. I thought Carson back, veteran quarterback, and at home, that was the lean on Miami. But that didn't necessarily play out. Not that Carson Beck didn't play well in that game, and the home field advantage didn't help, but I saw Miami take apart a team that was supposed to be physically their equal, if not their superior, and physically was better on both lines of scrimmage. So, yes, turned into a close game, not a close game on the field, a decided disparity between the two teams. I looked like I was watching like the fifth best team in the country playing like the 20th best team in the country is what it looked like, or not even the fifth best, a top 5 team, slot them anywhere. Okay. Then they back that up against South Florida. We expect Miami to dismantle South Florida, but we know how good South Florida was going into that game. And again, it wasn't 27-13. It was annihilation. Mm-hmm. And then for as dysfunctional as Florida is, they had just gone to Death Valley and outgained them and should have won the game. If DJ Lagway throws 3 interceptions instead of 5, they probably win the game. They lose by 2 scores. Their defense was rock solid against LSU, but slow grind, just dominant performance outside of one Florida drive to lead off the second half. So I made this statement when somebody called me about who has suddenly become a serious national championship contender that you didn't necessarily put in that category to start the season. I couldn't get Miami out of my mouth fast enough.
No,
absolutely. I said, if we had no knowledge of who these teams were prior to the season, didn't have the names Georgia and Ohio State on there and so forth, those teams, I said Miami would be the best team in the country. They would be rated. I have them ranked number 1. They are playing the best against the best opponents. Nobody's played Florida, Notre Dame, and South Florida caliber opponents, 3 of them. Nobody's done that.
No, I agree with you. And I think that that's a reasonable, perception of the team coming in. And yeah, it's not, I was very bullish, obviously, on Miami going in. I didn't necessarily fault people if they chose Notre Dame. Like, I get it, like I thought that was going to be, competitive. I mean, the scoreboard wasn't really indicative of the game. Like, we let them off the hook to make it a close game. Like, we really, really could have extended things out, which goes back to what I'm saying about needing to realize these points and get rid of the mid-game lull that we're starting to see under Shannon Dawson, regardless of who's at quarterback. You know what I mean? Did it with Cam Ward last year in multiple games. And I know, people, man, we're the number 1 offense in America. Imagine what it could have been if we didn't have those 3-4 drives in a row in the middle of the game, not doing anything. You know what I mean? Or in a quarter, like those kind of things. I'm picking nits, and I know that. But if the standard's the standard and we're looking towards championship kind of contention, these are the things that you're going to need to, kind of look at. So, yeah, I think that what you're talking about is your view of Miami through the course of this season, through the month of September so far, is reasonable. I think also my view is reasonable, which is not really different, because I think you would have had them probably 3-1, and I had them 4-0, with the Notre Dame game being the disparity. But, I don't even hate to say I don't hate to say that I told y'all so, because I did preseason. I said, hey, this is what it's going to be. And now they're doing it. So, yeah, it's great to see. I know that it feels different for everybody. I was talking with Brian, the Beast London, on the other podcast that I do. Please go look that up on socials so you can support that. But, I'm like, we've gone through the bad times to get here, and we need to not try to make the feeling that we have now the feeling that we had when we were losing all of these games and playing like crap. Like, this is why we play the games. Like, we want to win, we want to be good, we want to be dominant, we want to be back, we want to hit stick, bust dick, talk shit, you know what I mean? Like, we want to do all those things, but then you can be like, well, I'm concerned now about is there going to be a letdown? What are we talking about? We're the Miami Hurricanes, the bravado, the bad boys of college football. 937 yards of penalties in the 91 Cotton Bowl, to the point that they rewrote the celebration rule book because of the stuff that we were doing. And now I have people talking to me about, well, I'm not sure, and it feels a little different now because we're winning these games. Guys, what are we talking? This kind of a team is what we've been looking for and waiting for. Like, dog, Mike Jeezy, yes, I'm going to talk my shit right now. Like, this is what, if you're not excited and enervated as a Miami Hurricanes fan through 4 weeks and what we're seeing, I don't know what you want. And I know that there are people saying, well, Cam wants Miami to score 70 points a game and never drop a pass and never miss a block. In a perfect world, yes. But my critique of scoring more points and realizing the points that I think are potentially left on the field is not even saying that. Because if you take one more drive, when we were walking down the field against Notre Dame, that's 34 points. One drive. One drive into 7. I'm not crazy if I look at what we've done and say, you know what? USF we had scored on every single drive, and then we had 5 empty drives in that game and scored 49 points. One more drive is 56. Now, I know that raw number gets up there because we already scored that many against it, but it's not crazy. I'm not crazy for this, and I hope that y'all join me on the side of like, hey, and look, J-Mos, I hear you, brother. You have to understand the PTSD, though. I've been here with y'all every week for almost 500 weeks with Mark on Wednesday nights, even back to when I was teaching, right? And I mean, look, y'all have seen the background of 4 or 5 different places that I've lived. You've seen me go bald. You've seen my face get rounder. You've seen the grays y'all have seen all the, and I've been here through all of this, bro. You know what I mean? With y'all every single week. Y'all were here the week that we went up to Cincinnati in 2015 and lost on Thursday night. And my recap was 32 words, I do believe it was, on stateoftheu.com, because I didn't have anything to say. I didn't even write a good, bad, and ugly that week because it wasn't even nothing to say. Who you telling? And again, I wrote it this week that Florida State and Miami is my favorite Miami Hurricanes rivalry because my induction was the 2000 game my freshman year. I'm not of this. I didn't grow up as a Canes fan, baby. But I mean, I went to the U. I bleed orange and green. Yeah. But like, that was my introduction to Miami Hurricanes football, was the 2000 team. So you're trying to tell me, like, I get you. I get everybody. I hear what y'all are saying, but you can't only ascribe the failings of the past onto this team and none of the success, especially when Mario Cristobal's been building this team in his image to be bullies. Bigger, badder, stronger, meaner on both lines of scrimmages. And you got the best player through 4 weeks of football, 5 weeks because we had a bye week, in Ruben Bain Jr. over there with the highest PFF grade and the total overall highest graded on PFF defensive line in the country by like 2 points over anybody else. So they're wrecking shop over there on one side. And then you got them big bullies on the other side getting 3 yards a carry of line movement before the running back is touched on the other side. And then we push the pile. We keep the legs moving. We get back. We go to the huddle and say, okay, in the headset, great, Carson, that was wonderful. Remember the play call I just ran? Duo, run it again. Deuce right tight. Duo on one-on-one ready break. Cool. And then run it again down their motherfucking throat. And who stopped it? Nobody. Dog, hey, look, I get that it's uncomfortable. I get that this is the first time. If you only had the low swings on your playground and now you're trying to go over the bar and everything. I get that we're vibrating higher than we have in a good long time. But y'all can't be scared. Y'all can't be scared of success. Come on now. That's not Miami behavior on the field, off the field, fan, alum, hurricane, whatever you want to call it. Then nah. Miss me with that, buddy. Come on now.
I couldn't figure out who the Cincinnati quarterback was in 2015. I knew I would recognize the name as soon as I looked it up, so I did. I was just curious. Hayden Moore.
Okay. True freshman making his first start.
Joseph Yearby had a nice night, 17 carries for $113.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, but like, yeah, I say that to say that like we need to lean into expectations. We have a very, very, very good team, and I think that we should continue to perform like it, but expect it.
We have super chats to run down, so we so much appreciate all of you.
Oh yeah.
Mohammed Hussein, it's already too late. The Hurricanes have arrived.
That my guy. That's what I'm talking about. We already here.
There it is. And then we've got John Burr. Thanks so much for stopping by, which reminds me, I believe John was our first member to the channel. We've got memberships available and you get special emojis and so forth. So please support us. So many of you are so generous to support us with super chats week to week, but you can just make that one-time gift as well through the membership here at the Voice of College Football Miami. And John, we appreciate you doing that. The Hurricanes will be fine Saturday. Go Canes. Hope all is good.
Yeah, man. Appreciate that. I'm expecting that to be fine on Saturday. All is well with me. Can't speak for Mark, but I think it is for him as well. And I appreciate you being here with everybody else, man. Thank you.
Let me get this little plug in before we move on with the analysis. 59-30 against the spread this season for me. 12-4 2 weeks ago, 10-4 last weekend. So you can get my picks on Patreon. And the reason I mentioned Patreon, so you can get them as a premium member on YouTube on the main channel. You can also get them on Patreon, but on Patreon, you don't have to do the monthly membership. You can do something that Patreon has just unveiled here in the last couple weeks, which is a per week membership. So you can just try it out one time, $9.99. You get my picks. And again, 59-30 against the spread. Let's see if I can keep that up. I believe I can because I've got a pretty good track record. Not quite at 66 or 67%, but almost there for a long, long time.
Yeah, 2/3. That's wow. Okay. Dope. Let's see. There were a couple of questions in here.
Okay.
I want to hit really quickly. Tyson Tracy, tight end, should see breakout opportunities in the game in the intermediate to short passing game. Do the Florida State defense, probably emphasizing man-to-man and stopping the run. They run that 3-3-5 tight, that odd front defense, so we will see. There have been opportunities there for the tight ends. Either the ball hasn't found them or they've gone other place. The ball's gone other places, or it just hasn't been connected. I don't know if it'll be the tight ends, but I do think that the intermediate and short passing range, that's where Virginia really dotted them up last week. And Carson Beck is incredibly accurate. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks, by attribute and also by performance this year in the country. And I know that he had a very bad game against Florida. There it is, period.com. There's no but, there's no shading it, there's no anything. He had arguably the worst game of his college career against Florida. There. It is my hope that he continues to be accurate, that he can find these spaces on the field and really, be accurate with the football. And whether that's tight ends or not, we will see. Tyson Tracy backs that up. I also think Chase Smith and Aguirre would be ideal spies on Castellanos. Look for the NASCAR package with Lightfoot to have a big impact also. If they get behind the sticks and the NASCAR package comes out with Blunt and Lightfoot, Bain and Mesidor, GG's, good night. Because they're not a good long distance passing team in general with Castellanos. And then I seriously don't think that they can block us up front. I honestly don't. And that's foundational to my evaluation of the game and analysis of what's going to happen. So we will see. Heard some people or somebody that I know who, coaches ball and, watches a lot say that he thought that Castellanos was injured last week, didn't really have the explosive short area quickness and movement that he normally exhibits on the field. I'm not so sure about that. I got to go back and see if I can find some film from the game just to see. But he was just saying, if you look at a couple of things, he didn't have that bouncy, springy athleticism that he normally showcases, which is how he transitions from dropping back to then moving forward in the run game and things like that. Like, it manifests itself in the way that he plays. So I don't know, but we will see about who spies, when, and how. Whether it's at the second or the third level there.
Cam, one quick thought about the Carson Beck comment that you made about him having an off night against the Gators. And this is not specific to Carson Beck. It's specific to everyone in terms of identifying, does said player have the clutch gene or do they not have the clutch gene? Meaning, Carson Beck wasn't needed against Florida. So
Mhm.
you don't know. And I'm not saying that he has it or doesn't have it in terms of not needed, something subconsciously or something within the internal mechanism says, you don't need me tonight. I don't need to be my best versus, oh, you need me? Then I'm versus players slash quarterbacks who, hey, on the night when they are sailing with the 31-7 lead, they're throwing dimes all over the place when the pressure's off. And then when they're needed, not so much. Just not an observation about Carson Beck in particular, but just that exists out there to some degree for players either coming through when they're needed. So who knows if they would have needed him against Florida, if he would have been better.
I I don't know. I just think it was. I mean, it was one of the worst games of his career. Like other games. So I'll go back. 17 for 30, which is 56.7% completions, 160 yards, no tuds, 1 pick. Right. Those are analogous to 2024 when they lost to Alabama 27-50 for 54% completions, threw up a whole bunch of yards, 439 and 3 tuds, but had 3 picks. Also, the game that everybody looks at as the worst game previously of his career, that Texas game where he was 56.1% completions, 175 yards on 41 throws, no tuds, 3 picks. It was bad. Like the game against Florida, those 2 other games as one of the worst games of his career, period. I am not necessarily so sure that had it gotten to the point where like Miami needs to throw the ball and the field is tilted in the other direction a little bit, that good Carson Beck or whatever that had a better performance, I'm not sure that he was in Hard Rock Stadium that night. I'm really not. And like I know that that's a measure troubling because it's like, okay, wait, we've seen this in instances before, but I've also listed to you the 3 worst games of his career, and that was one of them. Like it just was. So yeah, I think that he will really be dialed in to leave that behind him like he did in the past, because the week after the Alabama loss in 24, he goes 23 or 29 against Auburn. Then he goes 36 for 48 against Mississippi State the next 2 weeks. Directly after that, after the Texas loss, he threw for 300 yards on 62.5% completions with 2 tuds and again 3 picks because he had all those picks almost in a row against Florida, but beat them. Had a off game. Well, everybody did, but against Ole Miss. But then he was dotting people up: 347 and 2, 297 and 4, 297 and 5 tuds against Georgia Tech. Like this is somebody who has rebounded from bad performances before. So I'm not going to sit here and try to cover for him, sugarcoat it, anything. That was one of the 3 worst games we've seen him play. Period. Full stop. However, his long-term track record of performance gives me confidence and hope that he returns to the player that we've seen in most of these other starts over the last 3 years, as opposed to the 3 that have really been aberrant in a bad way. Excuse me.
We got Greg Roberts stopping by. Greg, we appreciate your contribution, sir. Thank you so much for that. Good to see you.
All right, great.
Super sticker. Thank you.
All right.
And Slug Bruce.
All right.
FS Pooh look like they have a tackling problem.
They have been missing some tackles, and I don't know that that's going to be a great thing for them because, Miami does force a lot of missed tackles, and, we got 2 big running backs leading the way in Big Fletch and Marty Brown. You miss a tackle, that's another 10 yards. Now, it might not be you miss a tackle and they go score, but they lean on you, those body blows over and over again type things. Yeah, that's something to look for on the defensive side of the ball.
Virginia's got a really good offense. Now, they don't have an ultra talented offense, but it works very well together. And they did score 38 in regulation. Correct? Yeah, they scored 1 touchdown in OT with the 2-point conversion, and it didn't find much resistance scoring that touchdown in overtime either.
Yeah. They if not for Chandler Morris losing his ever-loving mind in the first half and throwing those 2 bad interceptions, it was teetering on boat race territory for Virginia. like in
Yeah.
their favor. Like it was, yeah.
So let me lead into this because you talked about what you would like to see improvement out of the Canes. Let's
Yeah.
reverse engineer this.
Mhm.
Taking all of that, what is the recipe for a Florida State win? I think it's easy to see a Miami win because,
Mhm.
again, I gave my take on Miami, Notre Dame going into the season, what I thought they were, and then how that perception for me was adjusted by that game. But we've seen these teams play now 4 games, and Miami seems to be not a ridiculously better football team, but they seem to be better in like everything I can think of.
Mhm.
Every position, every breakdown, Miami's either as good or substantially better, or that they've got an edge.
Yeah. I think that's reasonable. I agree. The path to a Florida State victory would be number one, Gus Malzahn dialing up the Alabama package because he's still employed at the college football level because he has an offense that's beaten Alabama like 5 times more than anybody else. You know, like you can go back to his time as head coach. Like this guy is known for that, and add another, infinity stone to that gauntlet for what he did in the opener. But you find you have that kind of success against Miami's defense. You find a way to block their defensive front or neutralize them because you're going to have to affect them in both the run and pass game. And you are the first team to have figured that out against the highest graded defensive line in America. You dial up and hit your shots a la Cal last year. And so that's on the offensive side. On the defensive side, you break tendencies. You, in a similar way to, like I said, for their offense, your defensive line has success against Miami's offensive line that no one else has had. Your athletic players make plays, don't miss tackles, and you force Carson Beck into 2 or 3 turnovers, maybe get a fumble somewhere in there as well, and you win the turnover ratio by 3 or more. I mean, I would say 2 or more, but I think I think Miami could potentially overcome maybe a 2 turnover deficit, depending on when and how those happen. But yeah, I think if you do those things, maybe you hit something on specials and you get a super nuclear play from Makai Danzy, the freshman track star. He's the one player on their team that really concerns me. Number 19, this is a kid who I think will be eventually an Olympian in the 400 meter distance. This is a guy who's multiple time state champion. In that, if you watch all of the window dressing that they do on offense now, 60% of it is him on jet sweep, him on orbit motion. Like it is Makai Danzy because he makes fast guys look slow. It's not even if he's leaving. If you could be in front of that man and he's running by you, like he has that game-breaking kind of speed. So credit to them for recruiting that guy and finding him. But he's the one guy. And I know Castellanos can play off schedule, but he would need to make some plays off schedule as well. And then, the Deuce Robinson, he's down there somewhere passing offense, which is really what they're doing because he's on a Randy ratio in Minnesota of like 40 to 45% of their passing targets are just thrown up to number 0 because he's 7 feet tall and 400 pounds. I exaggerate for comedic effect. You know what I mean? But like, I mean, he's 6'6", 245 playing receiver, So if you put, okay, so I've given you on offense and defense all of the things that I think would have to happen or on the menu of things that could happen to lead towards a Florida State victory. I would say that they would need at least, if I've given a list of 10 things, I think they would need probably 6 of those to go in their favor. I mean, I really think Miami is the better team here. And, maybe they play off of the emotion of being at home. Maybe it's something, the the N'Kosi Perry year, where he led Miami to a comeback down here in 2018. Florida State was up 27-7 in that game down here at Hard Rock, you know? So I'm not going to say it's impossible. I'm not going to say that. But I am confident in the fact that I believe that Miami is a better team. And it will take several of those things. Like, it will take Florida State performing at or above the level of excellence that they've shown across the season in a lot of these areas, and Miami having the worst game of the year so far in complementary areas to really kind of make that happen. So, and you're seeing a lot of guys in the secondary, Jabril Rawls, Earl Little Jr., the wayward Miami Hurricanes legacy. There's no reason that he's on that team up in Tallahassee, but I mean, he plays well, he plays strong, he gets downhill, doesn't play with a lot of discipline sometimes, and has gotten called for targeting also, but leads with physicality and things like that. But yeah, I think that there are things that can go in a way that could lead to a Florida State victory. But I mean, if I were I am a commentator and things like that. I just don't see enough of those things going in Florida State's way to overcome the advantages that Miami has. I just don't see the foundational performance areas and units on this team, like the offensive line and defensive line specifically, performing so poorly as to open the door for some of these other things that they would need to happen.
Brills did a nice job of baiting Chandler Morris into one of those picks. He was kind of playing the flat, and then
absolutely.
Super chat coming in. We've got Greg again. Thank you for this. What unit do you feel is vital to a victory?
Linebacker. Fit the run. And don't get fooled on when Gus Malzahn dials up wheel routes out of the backfield. And that can be, it's going to, just the defense in general of dealing with the non-standard scheme that they're going to put out there. So all of the jet stuff with Makai Danzy and like all that whole, because it's like, you have a series of plays. So that whole jet motion series and everything, but specifically the linebackers, because they're going to have to have the heavy lifting, which is why if you have the defensive line playing to their level of excellence, it lightens the load of the linebackers a little bit. But think about all the things that we're going to ask them to do. We're going to ask them to fit the run. We're going to ask them to run sideline to sideline. We're going to ask them to cover the running backs / tight end, who's, Brevin Jordan, Elijah Lofton, kind of stocky dude who lines up all over the place in the backfield at the H or whatever, right? They're going to have to do that. They're also going to have to be disciplined when they get up the field. They're also going to have eyes on Castellanos and spy him from time to time. They're going to have to play zone in the short to intermediate areas. I know that these are all things that linebackers do routinely, but in this game, it feels like all of those things are really foundational to a victory. Even with the defensive line doing what they need to do and the secondary doing what they need to do, the linebackers, particularly because I foresee them having such a large engagement in containing the quarterback run from Castellanos, that adds another major item on the list. And so, yeah, I would say of them, of the positions vital to a victory, on defense, linebacker, on offense, wide receiver. I am agnostic at this point as to who it is at wide receiver who makes plays. I know everybody's been clamoring for JoJo Trader, and I don't care. If he don't play and we get other guys out there hooping, if it's Keelan Marion and Malachi Toney and CJ Daniels and Joshua Moore and whoever else, Ray Joseph, the Cincinnati transfer, what's his name? Tony Johnson in there making plays. And it's not JoJo because the train done left the station because he wanted to be messing around and everything. It is what it is. But regardless of who the name on the back is of that jersey, somebody, wide receiver, need to make me a couple plays.
Super chat from Jorge Mahanga. Can I
Mayorga.
pronounce it?
Mayorga.
Mayorga. Oh, that's my eyes failing me, actually. Okay, I had an N in there. My apologies. Jorge says, Hurricane Jorge only missed 3 games at Doak since 1987, ready for Bain and Messidor to get their paycheck.
Awesome. Hey, man, look, if that's your continual pilgrimage, then, continue to bring us the good vibes up there. A stadium where Miami does have a winning record all time, by the way. I believe it's 14-10. So let's extend that out. And yeah, Bain and Mesdor, they continue to play really, really, really well. And people have been talking about Ruben Bain a lot, not just me, right into the feature piece of him being the destroyer of worlds, but even through the bye week with other players and other teams doing things, and Miami sitting on the on the couch at the crib chilling. Tons of people have been talking about that man. So the eyes are going to be there again. 7:30 p.m. national TV, ABC. It's going to be the most watched game of the weekend, one of the most watched games of the season. Go out there, make some plays, earn some money.
I don't know if this guy was on your radar in high school, but I see that while I would consider Gavin Sawchuk, who was a big recruit coming out of high school, as more of a workman-like kind of guy as it's played out in his college career, first at Oklahoma, now at FSU. This Usmani Chroma, if that's how you pronounce his first name, I don't recall it being.
I think it's Usman. Like, yeah.
Usman.
I think
Chroma.
so. Or Usman, yeah.
But it seems as though he is asserting himself and will become more and more of a factor for them. And so he could be a main player after 12 carries against Virginia.
Yeah, Chroma, he was a blue chip running back in last year's class. This is a guy with, size and speed and skill. I just looked up Gavin Sawchuk's recruiting profile out of high school. He was the latest blue chip player from Valor Christian out in Littleton, Colorado. So the school that the McCaffreys are from. Same town as Columbine, if people my age remember that town. Which school that's still there, by the way. But yeah, so he was from there and then went to Oklahoma. So also a blue chip recruit. So yeah, they do have a variety of guys in the backfield, with talent in addition to Castellanos. They got those couple of running backs and things like that, or guys at receiver as well.
All right, folks, Cam and I get together every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We would appreciate you hitting the like button. Subscribe here at the Voice of College Football. Catch Cam's work, of course, at State of the U. He and the rest of the staff gearing up for FSU. So what's to be highlighted there?
Lots of things. Hopefully early birthday present for Mary Selvage with a win on Saturday. Happy early birthday to you today, even Mary, for pulling up. There was something somebody else said in there. I see Truth Over Falsehood had a couple of things in there about us playing and, whatnot. There was something else. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. So Truth Over False said, I know everyone is proceeding with caution, mild trepidation in this game with FSU, but man, miss me with all that. I'm really hoping Mario taps into the Ivan Drago. If he does, he does. And not literally. But we boat race FSU, shut their fans up, put the world on notice. Enough conservatism and playing close, beat little brother down, Mario. I'm with it. And again, you got to pick your places. You got to choose your shots. I'm not just saying go 4 verts all day, Mike Leach, and just throw it up, take a 7-step drop and throw it to the X receiver, no matter what the coverage looks like. I'm not saying do any of that. But yeah, pick your places, pick your spots, and do some great stuff there on the field. Tyson Tracy says, keeping that CMR Mark Rick thing going. Subscribe to Mario Cristobal's words after USF. They're not signing up to be part of somebody else's redemption season or comeback story. Guys are starving for more, and I believe the harvest season is here. Look, you get out of things what you put in. Speaking of what we're putting in, and is over stateoftheu.com, is that work. Got another story stream up for y'all for this week's rivalry week with Florida State. I do not know the number of pieces that we have up already, but it will continue to grow. And then I will share so y'all can see.
That's what I was doing.
So we always rank all of the FBS teams in the state of Florida. That's there, the feed where, I know that I'm the only one in there, but y'all can interact as well. Awesome graphic. A guy that I found last week on social media, Mykel_GFX, MYKELL_GFX on Instagram. That's up. We have new honor and support military jerseys that are going to be debuted in 4 weeks, against Stanford, October 25th. There's your story stream, roundtable discussion of all of our contributors. A whole bunch of people are talking about Miami and Florida State. So a whole bunch of videos and podcasts are right there. My favorite rivalry is this one. And I wrote about how and why that came to be. Justin Tavio has his Dear JD column for somebody who is a FSU fan. So he has some advice there. And Rob Weaver, Miami and Florida State continue to schedule marquee non-conference games, but most Big Ten teams are ducking that smoke and hiding from competition. Most, not all. And I found a way to pin the recruiting rules back up there, so you have that as well. All of that and more, just a click away, stateoftheu.com. So yeah, please come on over and fan with us. We're doing really great stuff. I have a whole bunch of stuff, we have a bunch of stuff that's already in the offing. Scheduled for the rest of this week. I'm working to finish my latest feature article piece. So, I've written the one about Corey Heatherman's defense, ESV, spelling success. I've written the one about Ruben Bain, Destroyer of Worlds. I have another one that I've been working on all season so far. So that tells you how long I've been marinating on this and working to put this together. So hopefully I'm able to find the words to appropriately represent that. But yeah, all of that and more. Look, we got the second part of our discussion coming up with the State of the U crew tomorrow. Our game predictions go up on Friday. Matchups of the week. Your film preview is already written and scheduled for tomorrow. All of that and more. I don't know what else you want from me. But if you have suggestions for content, please, either hit me up on social or email or something. But we always lean into these weeks, particularly, when it's a rivalry week, when we have all these things to bring to you, because these games mean more. I know that we've played USF 13 times in our history. I know that we've done all these other things. But Notre Dame, that was special in and of itself because it was the opener. So we had a ton of stuff that week. Florida, they were already looking like they were circling the drain. Did we still give you 37 pieces and 6 days of content? We absolutely did. And we are doing that again this week. So, I know that I am really on my self-promotion thing because, Mark did lob it up to talk about the website that I've been contributing content to ever since 2010. And I've been running as the solo manager for the last 13 years, which is crazy. But yeah, man, look, it's a labor of love. It's a passion project. I am a hurricane just like y'all. So please, with all of us there, from Craig T. Smith to Justin DeTavio to Rob Weaver to Jordan Lopez, our newest contributor who's out there killing it, and everybody else in between, Mike Schiffman, Mike McCoy. We have so many great dudes over there. John Michaels from radio in Atlanta. He's my homeboy. And he said, I want to come back and get in those streets because I love this team and I want to put my opinion out there too. So we got Johnny Michaels back. Guys, we have so much great stuff over there. So many great people contributing content and so many great viewpoints. Whether you agree with me or not, there might be somebody else that you agree with, but we're always passionate. We're always open for the Hurricanes. So please, if you're like me and you like the Hurricanes, you see the website address right there. Just click it for me.
And let me add two of your favorite brands, Miami Football and the Voice of College Football combined, and some gear that you can pick up. It's quality, I guarantee it. Please let me know if you think otherwise, but all the feedback has been quality in terms of, and that was our goal in putting this together, to maintain a certain cost, but also deliver quality. We got tees, we got polos, koozies, tumblers, and mugs. And so vocfb.com, and you can pick out your favorite team. That's, of course, the Canes.
Come on now.
And the gear right there.
You already know that. I think I'm going to speed run through some comments. I'm a little bit high up on the The chat. So I'm just going to start rolling. Roger Allen, Miami OSU national championship game at the Rock with Ray Lewis, guest referee payback. We don't need referees to cheat for us. We're going to win anyway. Truth over falsehood. Can't imagine Miami and Georgia Tech in the ACC championship game and us destroying them for redemption and them playing the Suckeyes national championship in Miami, destroy them for redemption as well for the O2 game. I saw the first part and I was going to comment on it. I didn't even read to see that he actually echoed what Roger Allen had said in there as well. Look, I'm like, there is obviously for you and I as fans and everything, like the revenge narrative is there. And like it's palpable because like, you know, previous events have happened. And like if we took offense to them, then we want to rectify those results. However they came, whether it's Georgia Tech, whether it's O State, whether it's whomever. I really love the fact that this team is just, from what we have seen so far, dialed in on the daily. We're putting in the work. We're on this grind. We're focusing on the play that's in front of us, executing our plan, going 1-0 every week, and moving forward. I really like that because I think that previous Miami teams have not had that. Mike Jeezy said, yeah, Castellanos was injured going into the Virginia game. He says that's facts. Okay. Again, I now have other person who said that after I haven't really looked into it. Greg Roberts, longtime fan, and thank you so much for pulling up. Who's a key player for this week for the U? I think Carson Beck needs to play better than he did last time out because that was arguably the worst game of his career. And that's really going to be integral because this passing game does need to really take a step forward. And also the success of this team, especially on defense, has been predicated on the pair of Akeem Mesidor, but the destroyer of worlds, Ruben Bain. I think that those guys, the superstar players who have, by their own performance this year, elevated themselves to that status on this team, need to perform to that level. So it might be low-hanging fruit to give you, you know, the highest graded player in America in Ruben Bain, his rush partner, Akeem Mesidor, and then the starting quarterback of the team. But I think those guys are really going to be essential. Truth over falsehood says Corey Heatherman, the defensive coordinator, is going to be essential to success as well. And that could be true. Truth over falsehood. And again, I'm just scrolling here, and thank you everybody for your comments. I'm, obviously reading these live. Cam asked this question before I'll ask it again. How do you feel about the ability to make quick adjustments on defense if Castellanos starts to break out? Likewise for Shannon Dawson on offense. I feel fine about it. Through 4 weeks of the season, both coordinators have made the necessary adjustments and alterations in game to beget success. So, and if you look back, Shannon Dawson has done this previously here in Miami and also elsewhere. Corey Heatherman had a defense that, Mark, didn't you say they were like top 5 in the country in yards allowed in Minnesota last year? That doesn't happen by just letting a team gash you over and over again. So I know that he's not as veteran a coach, in terms of his tenure. But like, if you look back, Corey Heatherman played quarterback in college at like the D3 level. And he immediately got into coaching the next year and worked his way up. He was at James Madison their last 3 years at the FCS level as their defensive coordinator when they won a national championship and got to another national championship game and lost it. And I think to the semifinals and lost it. He was the DC there, right? Now, was it, Alabama or Georgia? No. But did he do great work? Absolutely. So he is a younger guy, but he does have a track record of success. And it has shown itself to be true this year as well. So I feel comfortable that they can do it. It is incumbent upon them to do it, make these adjustments appropriately on Saturday. So both of those things need to be true, right? I'm confident that they have shown that they can do it. And I have confidence, hopefully, that they do it on Saturday. Whereas if you would have asked me, for example, when Mark D'Onofrio was here, Cam, how do you feel about his ability to make quick adjustments? I feel terrible about it. The scheme going in was bad. And then, the alterations that we made it worse and things like that. I would not have anything positive on either side to say for it. So I put that out there to show you what the dichotomy is of how my response is positive. However, you still have to go. It's like when I was teaching, right? I give an assignment on Monday. You do the assignment. The homework is, I taught music, so it's a music thing, whatever. You come back on Tuesday, you did the homework, cool. In class on Tuesday, we did the assignment, you did the homework coming into Wednesday. We got a test on Friday and you sang all the wrong notes and words. I was confident that you had it. You were doing it during the week. When I looked at your syllables on Monday, great. When we're doing our tuning check and y'all had sectionals, it sounded good. When we went down the line, tree shaking, stand up and sing your part, which was one of my favorite things to do because these kids are not going to coast off to somebody else's voice. You stood there, sang it perfect in Slavonic Russian, which is one of the languages. I mean, my choir sung in all kinds of languages, but you sang perfect Slavonic Russian that you learned on Tuesday on Wednesday afternoon. Okay, cool. But then we get to Friday and we got that performance and it's sounding a hot ghetto mess. Now we got to look at things. And I think it's similar to that. I'm confident in what has been done, but you still have to perform when it's time to perform. Hope that makes sense. Tyson Tracy says David Blay needs to play well. Charles Robinson says Deuce Robinson is a matchup nightmare. Yes, because he's 8 feet tall. Edwin McCoy, what's going on, man? Show some love. Got to show some love for the team. 24/7, 365. Always. Truth or falsehood? Who do we think is going to guard Deuce Robinson? I think it's going to be a rotation because we play four cornerbacks. All of them are 6 foot and taller that play outside, whether that's Damari Brown, whether that's OJ Frederick, whether Connor, whether that's Xavier Lucas. It's going to be there, but you're also going to roll coverage and do something, like I don't think we're going to leave, hopefully, not anybody on the island with him. But, so it's definitely going to take a village. Is Charlie Strong done? I have no idea why you bring him up. He doesn't work there, I don't think. Anyways, Smitty said Earl Little and downhill don't go together at all. Seen some hits of him coming downhill that have been very violent and one that he got ejected from a game for. So just going to throw that out there. Is there anything else? I'm just trying to get to, because I saw in the comments from a couple weeks ago that people are like, well, we actually put stuff in the chat, but then you get to talk and you don't actually look at it. So taking the feedback, trying to do better. Right. Tommy Cruz, Jordan Lyle, and Lofton will have a great game this week from your lips to God's ears. What would you say, Eric Yeboah, is the Hurricanes' biggest weakness? Offense, lack of explosive plays. Defense, contested catches, jump ball situations. And it's not just OJ Frederick. There have been multiple times that has shown up of, just jump balls at the catch point. Would like to see a little bit more success in defending them. Don't even need the interceptions, but get a hand in there, break the pass up. And it's a thing that's happened a couple of times. It's not happened every time. I know OJ Frederick had a great PBU against Notre Dame. He did. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. I'm giving you something that has been a thing. And, again, answering off the top of my head. J-Mo says Chroma is the best back on Florida State's team, or will be. I think will be more than is now. But to the point of Edwin McCoy, Chroma is ready and he will play. So, Greg Roberts has a big blowout victory for Miami, 45-17. Some other people say 45-13, 34-13, 34-23, for those who are listening and not watching. Jason says he wants over 225 yards rushing for Miami in this game. Okay, I can get down with that. I mean, you're talking 40 carries at 5.3 a carry. 904 Hurricane. Now, this is a good one. In the past 40 years in this rivalry, the team that has won the rushing battle has won 100% of the games. The team that has won the turnover battle has won 90% of the games. I know that there are other statistics and things to lean on. Those two put together, run the ball and conversely stop your opponent from running. And take care of the ball and then take it away from your opponent. I mean, I think that is, foundational to football. J Mo's thinks point spread is 4.5. Do you think it's too high, low, or just right? FanDuel. I thought it opened at 4.5. Let me see now. If I go over here to games, no, I didn't want that. I wanted top 25. And live on FanDuel, it is still at 4.5. I got bet up a little bit. I think it's too low. I think Miami is solid down better than Florida State. And I think that we will see that. Miami has covered the spread on every game this year so far. Yay. Do we have speed in the secondary to keep up with Mekhi Danzy? I mean, yes and no. Like, I think by position and coverage, I think we can. But, like, lining up at the 40-yard line and we're just going to go straight. Maybe Xavier Lucas, but even still, Danzy is different kind of fast. Oh, perfect. Bang, bang, bang. We're to the bottom of the chat at 8:03. There's nothing else. Got through all the stuff. You love to see it, and you will love to see, in my estimation, a Miami Hurricanes victory in Tallahassee this weekend. Cam, what's your prediction? You're going to have to wait till Friday for that, because my prediction and all of our staff will be up on stateoftheu.com bright and early. I believe it is 9 a.m. on Friday morning. So you will have all of that there. Be sure that you hit the like. Be sure that you subscribe. Oh, my goodness. That was a speed run. Anything else you want to say, Mark?
Well, I'm going to say that Cam is rather gracious to be answering all the comments there in the chat, because it's the only show that I host. And at one point I was doing 18 shows a week. It's nowhere close to that now, where we would answer every comment, and that we usually ignore them unless there's a super chat or something that really catches our eye. So Cam is extremely gracious to be answering all the comments and questions. So I will say that.
Well, yeah, hey, I try to, again, just interact with everybody, and you'll see you guys come up to me, at the stadium, or just out in life in South Florida. Back when I worked at Starbucks, yeah, people would come into the different stores here in Florida that worked at, give it, just like way back there. I'm at the register taking orders. I'll talk to you in a second, but those kind of things. So, hey, it's a pleasure to be able to do this. And, I do appreciate all of you guys being here. 904 Hurricane last couple of things. Robinson has 24 catches. Next high wide receiver on Florida State has 9. So when I say that he's been 45 or 50% of the targets, because I had the stats up from the Virginia game as well, I think he had 9 catches on 14 targets in a game where they threw the ball south of 40 times, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a lot. Like, the ratio is what it is, because he's a very good player. But yeah, we will see. And then Charles Johnson, the last thing I'll put up here. I don't know if we got to go back into, the annals of history and get milk cartons or something. Our buddy George has not been heard from nor seen over in these parts on this channel in a few weeks. So if you're out there, George, I hope that you're doing well. Keep that same energy, or even just, hey, show up just to say hey. But the people are looking for you and everything, and hope that you're doing well. So that is everything that I have to say. stateoftheu.com is the website. Underwood Sports is the Twitter account at the State of the U, because there was somebody who was doing State of the Union commentary when we transitioned from being an independent blog to getting over with SB Nation years and years ago, which is why the socials are the State of the U. In case anybody was wondering, that's where you can find us. Back here next week for our second bye in 2 weeks. But next week, 7 p.m., I'll be here with Mark. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. See you guys.